Bad Decisions podcast. I'm your host, Scott Nathan. Today's guest is the undisputed queen of burlesque and my friend for more than 25 years. Please welcome Dita Von Teese. Welcome, Dita.
Hi, are you on a yacht?
I am, in fact, on a yacht. A friend of mine from college asked me to help him. My friend asked me to help him move his yacht from Sag Harbor to Miami. And by help, I guess it means sitting around and eating. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a classic you.
Alas. So, where are you now?
I'm in Las Vegas in my hotel room at the Venetian.
So tell me how the new show is coming along.
It's great. I first got offered a Vegas show about a year and a half ago when I was on tour. I did the Chicago theater and they had Caesars Entertainment came out and saw the show, and Live Nation, of course, who were my partners for like 15 years. And they offered me a Vegas show, and I was like, okay. So yeah, I mean, I always want to do a Vegas show, but like Vegas is a whole different thing than touring. So yeah, they came back with this idea about putting me in the Jubilee Theater, which was it is the last like showgirl theater in the world, essentially, because even Lido closed. So I went into the Jubilee, which used to be Bally's. If you remember it, they had you probably saw it. You had to have seen it. It was the most.
I was at Sinatra's 77th birthday party show at the Bally Grand showroom.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the Jubilee Theater where all the showgirls were, and it's been open since the 70s. And it's got all these amazing things that come out of the ceiling and up out of the floor. And it's just like it was a show that ran for 40 years called Jubilee, and they sank the Titanic on stage. Did you ever hear about this? Did you ever go to this?
No, but I
No,
love this stuff.
craziest, most camp thing you've ever seen in your life. And mind you, it's a topless Vegas showgirl review, right?
Sure.
And there's a replica of the Titanic together with like full pyrotechnics, 300 gallons of water across stage every night, like the most crazy thing. It was epic. There were two things I used to do when I would come to Vegas, like in the 90s and early 2000s. It's like number one, Jubilee. Number two, Liberace Museum. The rest of it, don't care. So anyway, it was my favorite show in Vegas. So they came back to me and they said, "Do you want to do the show in the Jubilee Theater?" And I was like, "Of course I do." And then I said, "Well, where's all the costumes and stuff after you shut it down?" They shut it down like 2016. And anyway, I said, "Where's all the costumes?" Because they have all these like massive Bob Mackie, like the costume budget in the 70s was like $4 million. It was crazy. So that's a lot of feathers and rhinestones. They had like a
Yeah,
million.
so where were all these Mackie gowns all these years? Just in mothballs and trunks?
They're not even gowns, they're crazy showgirl pieces. You can't even fit into a regular doorway with them. So I asked them, I said, "Well, I mean, I'm standing in the Jubilee Theater, like it's a little bit bleak, it's a little, it's an old timey room." Um, and I said, "Well, where's the costumes?" And they go, "Well, they're down in the basement. We don't know what to do with it." And I was like, "I have an idea of what to do with it." So
Yeah.
I created this show that was a combination of like my perspective on the showgirl, like a modernized showgirl, getting rid of some of the old like laws of being a showgirl, like having to be, 5'10", having to be skinny, having to be female, like all of these things. And I put it into a show from my point of view. And it's like the first time that those costumes had been used on stage again. So I put them on, like I had an equal number of show guys and show girls. So I made this big show, and we ran it there till about when did I closed it in June, because it was honestly like, that room just I can't say too much about it, but it was like a very difficult room. Like the I was getting like threatened to like they threatened to write me up for moving, like, cleaning off my props, or like moving a little thing. So I was like, I can't take this anymore. So anyway, I closed the show down. I mean, it was a beautiful show. It was a lot of fun. We did a lot of amazing things. Like I was driving a car on stage every night with a Liberace striptease guy in it.
That was so cool.
It was fun. It was really fun. So anyway, then I was like, maybe we can come back to Vegas in a new place. So now I'm at the Venetian. I still have these thanks to Caesars Entertainment. I still have these beautiful Bob Mackie costumes in the show, like a curated selection. And I, modified the show, made it sexier. And I'm at the Venetian in this beautiful Art Deco jewel room, jewel box
Nice.
called the Voltaire. So we just
I
started
love the Venetian.
this week. Yeah, it's great. Like there's shopping, food. It's like it's got it all. It's like very glamorous, great clientele. So, it's very upscale. And so I'm excited. And I have a lot of support here. It's really great. So yeah, but I just opened
Fantastic.
this week. So this was meant to be my first day off. But here I am because we've been friends so long.
Thank you. I appreciate you. So I always really like to begin with origin stories. And, I've known your mother and you and sisters for years. Can you tell me a bit about your formative years and what growing up was like?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, well, first of all, I was born in Michigan. I grew up in a small town called West Branch, which actually, like, I'd always, I left there when I was with my family. Of course, I didn't run off to Hollywood. I left there with my family when I was like 12 years old, I guess, and moved out to Orange County with them, to Irvine, actually. And yeah, the town I grew up in was like 2,000 people and one stoplight. And I actually thought, like, oh, when you're little, you don't think about those things like small town. And I went back like a year ago for the first time and I was like, oh my God, it really is a small town. It really is. It was like really still like there's some stop signs, but there's only one stoplight still. So it was kind of like, oh wow, this is the real deal. So yeah, so I moved out to Orange County. It was, of course, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's, Orange County was also a little bit different, I think, in the 80s when I moved there. Um, and in the 90s when it was kind of like the center of rockabilly culture. So I feel like growing up, like as a teenager there, you know, there was a good culture back then, like car culture and music culture and a lot of cool bands came out of Orange County. You know how it is. It's like, but I look at Orange County now and I'm a little like, whoa, it feels very different to me. Um,
Yeah. I also love that you are a motorhead or petrol head, as they say on the other side of the pond, and that you love cars as much as I do, and you have a very interesting and eclectic car collection. Can you tell me like what your first gem was and what's been in your collection over the years?
yeah. Well, in the early 90s, I was kind of like, the swing dance scene. I was already like dressing in vintage and everything. And the swing dance scene was emerging based a lot on like all of these kids that worked at Disneyland, like, all the dancers worked at Disneyland. So that's kind of like where it started bubbling up, all of this swing dance stuff. And like the Derby and all, yes, all of that. But
Yeah.
I was friends with a lot of those people. So it was kind of like my vintage clothing, my love of vintage clothing and red lipstick and vintage hair and all that stuff came, it kind of merged with this swing dance scene that I got involved with. And then, I had like my boyfriend I met out swing dancing and he had a vintage car, but, he was very precious about his car. And I was sort of like, I get my own. So I saved up my money and I think like, you remember I worked in that strip club a lot. I'm
Cap-
skipping over a
Captain
lot.
Creams.
Yeah, I worked in this strip club that was very legendary. For those who know, it was called Captain Creams. The full name was Captain Creams Tussling Tootsies, by the way. When I first started working there, you had your shift fee of $10 and you didn't pay a penny more than that $10. And you got a little garter. I think I have one somewhere. It said Captain Creams Tussling Tootsies. And you could like sell that to some guy for like a lap dance or whatever. I don't know, table dance they called it because he didn't sit in anybody's lap.
Sure.
Um, Anyway, you remember that place, but it
I,
was
I
legendary. Like, all the girls that were in music videos and Playboy models, and like, they were all working. Girls that were beautiful that were working their way through like medical school. Like that. That was like the glory days of striptease in a strip club. Like where there was tons of money flowing, and everybody wanted to work there. So it was kind of a cool place for as trashy as it looked and as trashy as it sounds. It was kind of like a big deal back then.
Look, when I met you in 1999 through Playboy, which was my first paid job as a photographer shooting strip search, I knew you were a different breed of cat. I remember you were sitting doing your hair and makeup in the backstage area, and I went up and introduced myself, and I said, "What's your name?" And you said Dita, and I said, "How's that spelled?" And you said Dita. And I said, I got a friend with the sunglass company that's named Dita. And you said, yeah, he named the company after me. And I'm like, come on. So I go and call John. And he goes, and I got an exotic dancer who says you named your company after her. And he goes, yeah, it's 100% true. And I'm like, oh dear, wow.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of kismet that we became friends because not only we were on the same flight back to LA the next day on Southwest Airlines, and of all those hundreds and hundreds of dancers I shot for Playboy, you're the only one I've been friends with all these years. So that was just kind of
Well, I have to say,
fortuitous luck.
because so many of those, with all the when you were doing like the website stuff, because I had the first pinup website on the internet, like the first vintage pinup. There was like Danny's hard drive and all of those things that we were all coming up
DHD.
together doing those things like at a website when you could just have one page and people could send in like $20 into the mail and I'd sign some postcards and get it back. So my first web page was that, but I know you were involved in like websites and stuff,
Yeah,
building.
and I built Jenna Jameson's Club Jenna, and it was actually hosted by DHD by Danny's hard drive because they had a real robust infrastructure, which the server rooms weren't really a thing quite yet.
Right. Yeah.
You,
Everything.
you know, I
Part of the evolution of all of it.
I purposely wore this shirt for you because I would never ever wear polo shirts unless it's on a golf course, but I put it on because you called me out of the blue one day and you said, "Do you want to go with me to a fetish ball?" And I was like, "I never been to. I don't think I have anything to wear to a fetish ball. I don't have any latex or leather or anything." And you said you are a fetish, and I said, "How am I a fetish?" And you said you're like a prep fetish. So I put on white trousers and like navy blue Prada slides and a white cricket sweater, and I sat with you in the booth, and all these little goth kids came over, and you were signing posters with Sharpies, and it was really fun. And I remember there were these kids that were like straight out of goth talk on SNL, and they're like, "How do you know Mistress Dita?" And I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about right now?"
Mistress Dita. Yeah, I used to really play it up in the 90s, like my persona, like for a while I was like, I'm gonna pretend that I don't speak English. Like I would do that at the strip club sometimes, just like pretend I didn't understand anything. But the Mistress Dita thing, I'm totally not a dom.
No, I don't think so.
No.
So, your mother Bonnie, whom I adore, shared a lot of pictures with me in the past couple days.
Oh,
There's
great.
there's a Yeah, that's what moms do. But there was one that really stood out where it's the whole family and they're all in like denim and overalls and jeans, and you're wearing like a yellow polka dotted dress, a yellow dress with like I think white polka dots, and you're posing like Dita Von Teese, and you're the smallest one there. Yeah, that's the pose. And explain to me,
I
you
I
refused to wear denim as a child, didn't you?
I had definitely had some tough skins that I animals I was forced to wear, but like I do remember being little and being like, TikTok, when do I get to be a grown-up lady and wear whatever I want and do whatever I want? And like I used to I was just obsessed with like womanhood, and like being
Hmm.
part of that. I was in a big hurry to grow up and not in like a bad way, just in like my mom watched old movies. And so I grew up like going, I want to look like Hedy Lamarr or Betty Grable. Like I knew who those ladies were because my mom just liked all these old movies. So I think, and I loved ballet. I wanted to be a ballerina when I grew up, of course. My sister was into horses. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I just, I do remember like anytime I had like a real cute dress, like my Easter Sunday dress, I would like beg, can I wear it to school? Can I wear it every day? Can I wear it all the time? So I always loved clothes, and I feel like I knew about like the way that they kind of transform you. And why wouldn't you just wear like your fun clothes? I never understood, even when I was little, like why can't I wear my best clothes? So I don't know. I was just kind of like a funny little kid that wanted to be a lady and couldn't wait until I was a lady. And
Yeah,
now, like I remember at one point, my dad, especially in high school, he was like, "These are the best years of your life," and I was like, "They are," and I'm still like, "They were not. That was all wrong." I mean, we all know that by
no.
like, not the best years of your life. And being a
Will
kid,
you
fun.
go
I used
ahead?
to, put on shows and dance recitals and all that stuff. Yeah.
Will you share with the audience the amazing anecdote about the time that you went out on a Halloween dressed as a basic LA girl with like blonde hair and I think it was like a Prada backpack maybe and gold shoes and jeans and you couldn't get into the party because they didn't believe you were you?
I did it all the time. I did it all the time. The first year I did it, actually, I was going to a massive rave in downtown LA it was like at the Memorial Coliseum or something. I was going to like a big party, and I dressed like my manager Melissa Deschelle, who I'm sure you know.
Uh-huh.
And I
I
borrowed
remember her well.
clothes. Everything fit well. I had the blonde wig. I took off all the red nail polish. Obviously, like did my makeup like natural. So that time I was like not like, I didn't, I definitely got in the party because I bought a ticket. Um, but I remember also that same party sitting like spotting some people dressed like me and Marilyn Manson, and I was like, ooh. So that was funny. But yeah, I've done it a few times over the years, like dressed like a not me. I hate using the word normal girl, but like what I do is I'll spot like a look
Yeah.
sometime in the year and I'll be like, that's the look this year. One year it was like, how girls wear those like black tights with cut off jean shorts. It was kind of a big thing. They do that. Like, and I was
Yeah.
always baffled. I'm like, what is that look exactly? What is it derivative from? I couldn't understand it. And that's like, so I do like the long, like brown wig and like I'll pick like an outfit that's kind of popular in mainstream culture and take off all the red. And I go totally unrecognized. The year that I had trouble getting into the party was the Maroon 5 party, and I was on the list, and Melissa, who I just mentioned, she ran that party at that time.
Yeah, I always went to that party.
Like they won't let me in because I don't look like Dita Von Teese. And then all night though, I realized that was the one time like going to like a Hollywood party. I was like, I lost all my VIP privileges. I was very like, nobody wants to talk to me. Weird guys are hitting on me that normally would never dare, like, and so
Amazing.
it's kind of a fun thing for me to do when I'm going to go when I really don't want to be recognized. But it's funny and it's disturbing. It's especially disturbing when I'm wearing the wig and the bronzer and I go home and I get undressed and I always take off my clothes first and I look at myself naked like that and I'm like, it's the worst part.
It's amazing. I interviewed Jay Leno a few days ago, and he rolled up to I did it at the garage, and he rolled up in like a new entry level Fiat Cinquecento, a Fiat 500. And I
Mhm.
said, he's 400 of the most amazing cars and motorcycles in the world. And I'm like, how do you like that Fiat, Jay? And he goes, sometimes you would just want to be ignored. You just don't want to be recognized. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I remember
So
like I used to do all those like magazine covers, and I did a shoot at Jay Leno's garage, like in the lingerie, posing on the new $3 million Bugatti, and they were very like, "Do not touch that." And I was like,
of course.
I totally put my butt on it. But
Is
I was, yeah, it was
yeah.
because I was like, I get it. I just came from this thing called Goodwood Revival. Have you heard about this? You would love.
Yeah, I
It's amazing.
remind me again. I know it. What is it? Oh, well, wait. Is it's one of the vintage car events like in Pebble or something?
Most incredible vintage car thing I've ever been to. It's
Yeah.
the race vintage cars, all the NASCAR and all the race car drivers, retired or otherwise, all come and race people's like vintage race cars. And it's only cars from like the 30s till the like 62 or 3.
Yeah.
and it's on this like Goodwood, like it's like a Goodwood's like a big Downton Abbey type estate, and it's amazing. I've never it was one of my favorite weekends of all time. I loved
Yeah,
it.
your outfits were really something else. I remember seeing them in your Instagram and stuff. So one thing I want to talk about, my audience is mostly women, and I like powerful, strong women, and I want to know if you could share a little bit about all the brand licensing deals and sort of how you became an entrepreneur with this persona that you created from whole cloth.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's just been like a little.
What was the first one?
The first one, gosh, okay. I don't know. I've always been a little bit like my brain's buzzing with like, wow, remember the time that you did a private licensed lipstick in the 90s? Like I found the companies that make lipstick in the valley and I had a lipstick made. And that was like before I was, really like known at all. So I've always been kind of like a do it yourself with entrepreneurial stuff. I think license deals, I mean, I have had my lingerie for a while now. I want to say it's going on like 15 years, but I know there's other things before that because I had makeup lines, I had perfume. I did a lot of things in
You
Europe.
had
So
nails?
I had like little press-on nails, kind of like my vintage manicure.
Yeah, with
Um,
the moons. Yeah.
yeah, I did a lot of different things, and a lot of it was in Europe. Um, yeah, I did I mean, some things stick and some things don't. Like the lingerie is my biggest deal still, that is makes the most sense for me. It's beautiful, like legit nice lingerie that's sold in department stores. Fragrance has been a big one for me. Always had a perfume. Right now, I currently have four perfumes. One that's like based here, like a more of a clean beauty with a company called Heretic called Scandalwood. So that's the one I've had the longest
Great name.
still exists. Yeah. And then I have three other ones which I only sell on my website, and they're basically produced in Europe, and I imported them over to sell just in one place here in the US on my website.
Yeah.
And
I
then
shot one of those campaigns. We killed a lot of flowers for those pictures, but I love those pictures we did together.
yeah, I like those. That was a fun day with my Alistair there, my kitty.
I miss him. Yeah. Can we? I don't know if I've ever asked you this because it's pretty much as long as well, you had the dachshunds for a long time, but how did you discover the Devon Rex cat, which you made me a massive fan of?
Yeah, well, it was in like 2001 or so or two. And I was with Manson. We were living together, and I knew he liked cats. He had cats growing up. I had my dogs, my
Oh,
wiener dog.
that's right. Lily was the first one I ever met, right? The white one. Wasn't that the
Yeah.
first one?
So she was a gift and I was looking at Cat Fancy magazine, and I was like looking through and reading about all the breeds. Because like some people like I feel like people get dogs and cats or whatever based on what they like the look of, and they don't dig in. And it's like that's how I got in trouble with my dachshunds. Like I bought this cute little wiener dog puppy because I was like, it's so cute. And I didn't know I was in for trouble because they're among the most difficult breeds and most stubborn breeds. They're real bratty and they're hard to train. And I had, 18 years of these two dogs ruling my life. But anyway, so I was researching breeds, and I was like, Devon Rex, intelligent cats. Like they're kind of like, but listen, they're not for everyone. Sometimes I talk about how much I love Devon Rexes, but like I see like in the Devon Rex rescues, people be like, this cat is all over me. This cat, I don't have time to devote to this cat. It's meowing at me all night after I'm at medical school all day. And it's like, did you really get among the most social breeds of cat? They're not aloof. If you're not ready to have the cat on you at all times following you, then you're don't do not get a Devon Rex, please. So they're very like, they're sensitive. They need their people.
Yeah,
So
it was
anyway,
the greatest thing that's ever happened to me was my Devon Rex, and thank
yeah.
you for that. But my Herman probably has more passport stamps than 99% of the world. He was the greatest, and I didn't want to not take him anywhere.
I know.
I took him horseback riding. I took him sailing on the San Francisco Bay. Me and Herman did everything.
That's
And
like,
did I tell you the story about the Georges Cinq Hotel?
well, tell me again, because everyone else wants to hear it now.
That's true. I walk in with Herman under my arm into the Georges Cinq, and the doorman says, Monsieur Herman? And I was like, you know my cat's name? He goes, yes. Are you Dita's cat sitter? And I'm like, no, this is my cat.
He was
And
a
I was
kid,
like, how do you know my cat? He goes, everyone know Herman.
especially in France.
Yeah, he was
No, all
quite
my
the ledge.
So Herman
Uh,
was basically like it just to give people a little backstory on Herman. I had like when I got divorced, I had all these animals, right? It's like suddenly I was in a little tiny house, and like I had three cats, I had three cats, and I had the two wiener dogs, and it was like full on, like all of these cats. And then also my friend Stacia was there, and she had her cat. So it was like cats galore, and it was just like
Edgar.
a little bit overwhelming. And they were, and Edgar and Herman were a little bit needy, and Alistair was my soulmate, of course, but
Was the
Herman
best.
was very particular, and I always noticed he liked being the only cat, and so. Then Stacia would take him, and he would just really thrive on being the only cat. So that yeah,
He does not like cats. He likes dogs, he likes children, he doesn't like other cats.
totally valid.
Rest his soul.
Like,
Yeah.
sweet. He was a good kitty. But yeah, he was like a perfect match. I think, I have three cats now. And I'm not giving any of them away because I love them all. They're all so weird. They're all so quirky. But yeah,
I remember I remember when you invited me over to Christmas dinner with you and Manson, and I walk in. What I liked about Manson is he could take a teasing. He wasn't like overly sensitive. So I walk into your house
on a
in
good
Hollywood.
on a good
Yeah,
day.
okay. Fair. But I walk in the house and Tony Bennett Christmas music is playing and he's sitting in a chair reading Cat Fancy with a kitty cat in his lap and with Tony Bennett and he's got like jeans and tube socks on and no makeup. And I go, well, this is a real effing disappointment. And he goes, hey Scott, what's up? And the Antichrist himself reading Cat Fancy and listening to Tony Bennett. And he's like, yeah, what are you gonna
Showbiz.
do? Show
That's
indeed,
showbiz.
indeed. And I remember when you first told me you started dating him, and you were like, "I'm seeing someone new," and I said, "Oh, that's so great." And you said, "You're not going to approve." And I said, "Why would I not approve? I just want you to be happy." And you said, "It's Marilyn Manson." And I said, "I do not approve." And you said, "I'll tell you what. You come out, hang out with us, and let me know what you think." And remember that night I met you guys out at the Sunset Marquee, and he and I were like just instant right out of the gate. We got along really well. And then all these whiskey bar people were like, how do you two know each other? And me and Manson just started lying to everybody. We would like first I said we went to English riding camp together and our mothers are best friends. Then the next people who came up and asked, he was like, yeah, we went to tennis camp together. And we were both like,
That's like more than 20 years ago now.
yeah, yeah.
It's a long time ago. And before that, I was dating all kinds of like bad boy actor guys and stuff like that. So I was always like kind of a little bit of a hot mess with like romance. So you shouldn't have been surprised.
No, but you're
Hey,
good at keeping
I'm
them going.
living.
Say
But yeah,
again?
it's a long time ago now.
Yeah, yeah. Um, What was the who was the first burlesque person that really caught your eye? Was it Betty? Was it Gypsy? Was it Anime?
It was Gypsy, like Natalie Wood playing Gypsy. It was definitely that. Like I felt like, because again, I watched a lot of old movies. I saw that. And then of course there's other like glimpses of burlesque and in other films like, you know, A New Kind of Love with Paul Newman. It's like there's like little glimpses of it that I'd seen and but I loved musicals. I love like 1940s musicals. And so I guess like okay, well, one of the reasons I knew about burlesque was because I was pinup girl, like the pinup girl, like recreating pinup photos in the 90s. And I collected pinup magazines like from the 30s and 40s. And in those magazines were mostly, I mean, Betty Page was in there. Betty Page was never a burlesque star, but she was in those magazines and definitely an inspiration. But all of the girls that posed for those magazines, most of those girls were burlesque dancers, and it would say like so and so dances at whatever. So it was kind of like that same parallel between like strippers and Penthouse magazine or whatever. Like a lot of the girls were performing or dancing in strip clubs at the same time. So I think it was just like the idea went in my head that I could also perform as a burlesque dancer because it was related to me as a pinup model. And, in the early 90s, my boyfriend was a big rave scene promoter. And so I was go-go dancing. And actually, he was the one that took me to a strip club, Captain Cream's. And so I kind of like walked in there. I was like, God, I am, busting my ass every night for that $75 that I get go-go dancing on the platform under the hot lights until, 6 in the morning. So, yeah, I was kind of like, I should try this because it was also a bikini bar. It wasn't even topless or anything yet. And I was like, these girls are
Right.
just messing around in bathing suits. What if I wear, vintage lingerie? So it started there. And I remember the guy they auditioned me on stage live as they do, because they love to do like a contest, right? Every strip club has a contest, amateur night.
Sure.
And I remember the guy that hired me, he was like, I was wearing like a full corset. I was wearing stockings, like garters, long black opera gloves, the bra that covered all of it. My hair was very short. And he said, I don't know what's going on here. And you're wearing a lot of clothes for this place. Cause it was a slingshot bikini, the slingshot. It goes like this.
Sure.
Yeah. And there's no
Like the
sock.
Borat.
I love those. I know. I love those slingshot. Um, so anyway, yeah, he was like, I'm gonna give you a shot. So that's kind of how it started and kind of evolved from there, where I became at the same time as becoming more known and doing more of the Playboy stuff. And I started making shows, feather fan dances and things for the fetish nights, and was traveling to London for the Fetish Ball and to shoot at all the fetish magazines. So yeah, I just kind of like in the 90s kind of bubbling up. And then I think my moment was really like in 2002. I was on the cover of Playboy when people knew who the cover of Playboy was every month. It was actresses and models and, reality stars sometimes. And
Remember, we shopped for photographers together on that one.
wait,
It was
what?
before. Remember, it was before. It was before I, or was this a different issue? But I remember it was before I was shooting full time. And remember, we took meetings with a few photographers to find your photographer for
Yeah,
Playboy, or
well,
was this a different cover?
I think it was a different one because this was
Okay.
uh Arnie Freitag shot the cover, but
Ah,
Moja
okay.
Braca shot my pictorial. But basically, half of my issue was actually at the time. I don't know if he did something after, but he at the time he was like, "This, I'm going to oversee your pictorial," and it was the last one that he laid out himself. So at the time, anyway, that's what he had told me, and they told me. So
Yeah.
he didn't love Moja Braca's pictures for the cover.
Yeah.
So we ended up shot with Arnie Freitag too to get that like quintessential cover. But I was glad I
And
did.
didn't Manson shoot a couple images from that pictorial
Yeah,
too?
there were a couple little things like snapshots that we took around the house because he was kind of into his, shooting film around the house of me,
Sure, sure.
like artist muse relationship at that time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, speaking of the Natalie Wood Gypsy Rose Lee thing, Courtney Wagner keeps asking me. Dita owns Natalie Wood's costume from Gypsy, and Courtney Wagner, her daughter, my friend, is dying to see it. So
Oh
next
God,
time you're in LA, she's
no,
back in LA. So will you let me know when you're back?
following her. I think I've chatted with her a little bit. I wouldn't have thought that she cared about that, but I'm trying to
No,
bring the
she.
rest of the costume together because I have like there's like a bodice and a bra, and then there's somebody else in the other side of the world that has the skirt and the jacket. And it's like it'd be great to try to get it together somehow. And then I have the
She,
dress that actually like the real Gypsy Rose Lee dress, which that was meant to emulate in the
yeah,
film.
well, she has a lot of her mom's clothing and accessories. Maybe there's more photos to be done with us.
Yeah, I mean, she looks just like her too, if I can say so.
Yeah.
I love watching her social media posts and like, oh, she looks just like her mom. Mhm.
So give us the initial dates for your Venetian show so everyone knows to get tickets because these shows do sell out. So tell everyone when and where.
It's at the Venetian in the Voltaire, which is a beautiful, beautiful room. And I'm on select Thursdays through Sundays. We had quite a wild Sunday this last weekend. So yeah, it's like there's a few, I'm on a lot through the rest of the year. So the dates are all on my website. I'm sure you're going to put that on there. But
Which
yeah, here are the
which
next.
your website is?
Well, it's everyone uses social media. The dates aren't even on my website. Who updates a website anymore? It's all
True.
socials. But
Okay.
yeah, I have it on Teese, TEESE.us/Voltaire. That's where the ticket link is. Like that's my little ticket link.
Got it. And Dita Von Teese everywhere else.
Yes.
Um, well, my captain Alejandro has given me the stink eye and wants to go fast again, so I think we could wrap it up.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much for doing this on your day off. I really appreciate it, and it's always a blast. And I look forward to coming and seeing your show in Vegas as well.
Welcome anytime.
The Bad Decisions podcast was produced by Cam Borum and Brock Workman of Herdat Entertainment. Be sure to like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts so you'll never miss an episode. You can also purchase my book, The Big Book of Bad Decisions, at baddecisionsbook.com or wherever books are sold. A special thanks to today's guest, Dita Von Teese, for joining me. I'm your host, Scott Nathan. Thanks for listening.